It's an amazing Monday morning. Thank you so much for being a part of our show today, the 2nd of the month of April 2023. My name is Janice Kobum. Thank you so much for being here. Good morning.
Good morning, Africa. Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, Akwa Ibom State. It's a beautiful day to be alive. A great Monday morning to rise and shine wherever you are. My name is Uyai Anekan, and I'm thankful to be here this morning. Of course, we'd like to remind you to be a part of the community and the conversation. So, like, share, comment across all our social media platforms, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtv.ng. Our phone lines will also be displayed on your TV screen in the course of the program. Please do well to call us, send us WhatsApp or text messages to make your contribution on the issues that will be raised on the floor around the side. Good morning, once again.
Good morning,
Good morning,
Rai.
Janice.
How was your weekend?
Up and thankful.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was an
definitely.
opportunity to see family and do all that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I know that yesterday also we had a lot of Christians, especially of the Catholic faith,
Oh, yeah.
with palm trees and palm and olive branches,
Palm
because it
Sunday.
was actually Palm Sunday and all of that. More like ushering us into the Holy Week, and yeah, we're moving gradually to the Easter activities and festivals as well.
Yeah, of course, Easter's already here. Like you said, preparations are top notch. The Catholic faithfuls have already started marking it, and I'm sure it will top some of the conversations in the next couple of days.
Yeah.
A moment where Christians just recline and think again about the coming of Jesus Christ, as it were, just a time on the calendar to mark that event. Reflective time for the Christendom also.
Very.
Yeah, to reevaluate your stance and your personal walk with God. It's just even like the Muslim faithfuls are in the course of their Ramadan also. Just time to shoot back from the race of life and pay closer attention to God, as it were. So
Yeah,
it's good
definitely.
time.
And I think it's coming very apt, following all of the election issues that we've been having. It's been quite heated up, kinda. And so we're just finishing from the Ramadan fasting. I don't know if we're finished.
No,
but
Ramadan is still going.
it's
and
still ongoing, yeah.
the
So
14th
we have all of that
fast,
happening at the same time, and then Christians celebrating, Palm Sunday, the Holy Week into the Good Friday, and then Easter, and then Easter Monday, and all of that. So I think it goes beyond just these kinds of celebration. Just like you said, both Christians, both Muslims, it should be a time where it's more reflective. What do we want for the country? Now, this is going beyond just our personal selves. What do we want for the country? How can we make the country better? How can we make the country less heated up at this moment? So it's not a situation where it's just like, oh, one of those religious activities that we do, and after that it's all over. We go back to our normal lives. We go back to making certain comments that could further heat up the polity and all of that. We go back to tearing ourselves along ethnic lines and all of that. I think it's more like, okay, so this is a time where we come back to the drawing board, evaluate ourselves, evaluate how we go about our activities, evaluate the country, Nigeria, and see how we as individuals in our own different small sectors, how we can further make the country a better place for everybody.
It's important at this time that we make our contributions to the to whether or not Nigeria will move forward. It's now a place where the collective work really needs to come in, across all religious divides, across all ethnic divides.
Exactly.
We really need to put our hands on board, on deck rather, to make this happen. Like he said, there's been a lot of funny developments with regards to the offshoot of the elections. One would think, oh, the general elections are over, but the repercussions, the consequences of the electoral process is really biting. We are seeing all manner of things, whether they are schemes or whatever they are, but it's not just settled, for people at this time in the country, and we're wondering, okay, where is this really headed? If we are in defense of the fact that we had a free, fair election, what's with all the offshoot of things, happening? And We wish to hear vehemently when all the court processes are going to start, so that maybe at that point people are resting, just paying attention to the proceedings of the court. Because as of now, it looks more like people are bending to any other opinion, anything they can lean on at this time to unleash, what will I call it? Unleash their
Yeah,
thoughts. Yes, their
grievances.
grievances, as a result of the election. Is just really is worrisome, I must say.
Yeah, definitely worrisome. And just to lean on what you said about Nigerians, unleashing their grievances and their dissatisfaction towards the polls, especially the February 25 polls.
Exactly.
I know this is supposed to more like we can't have that kind of song being aired on a different traditional media options now, but it sends a message. I'm talking about Fowl's
And
recent
Vector.
music,
Okay.
I'm talking about Mr. Yakubu, but it sends a message because he gave a situation where there is an open verse. Nigerians can jump on it as, a challenge and then tell, how they feel about the elections. And I've listened to quite a lot. And it just shows that, look, people are not happy,
Yeah.
for whatever reason it is, people are not happy. And I think that somehow Nigerians have also said that, look, the president has been too quiet about certain things happening in the country, about the general outcome of the elections and all of that. And, well, we're just going to keep our fingers crossed and see how everything evolves at the end of the day and where it will leave us as a country, actually.
Of
But
course,
yeah.
that is when we say we're even keeping our fingers crossed. Last week we were having conversations about an interim government just to stem the tide of how things are going. With the way things are going, it becomes more difficult for you to think, oh, would this interim government thing really happen or not happen? Because it looks like, okay, the current sitting administration, they seem not to have a handle, or want to give a voice. So as
Definitely, an interim government cannot stand because one, it is very, very unconstitutional, and secondly, too, it's a major threat to democracy. And if we have come 23 years into democracy, it's still building. We can't say we have it all, put together yet. But if we're saying that we've come all the way 23 years down democracy, I don't think that opting for the option of an interim government is what we want at this time. But I think that government needs to be more decisive in its decisions. It's either you're making a decision and standing by it, or we're just moving on. But that's some kinds of situation that Nigerians have found themselves after the general elections. But let's look at some major conversations making the rounds this morning, and that's our major story for today, letting you know exactly what's happening in the country. That's our duty. We owe you that obligation every day, Monday to Friday on Rise and Shine. And today, our first conversation, major story this morning, is about the very controversial audio tape or audio recording of the Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi and the founder of Living Faith Foundation, now Bishop David Oyedepo. That seemed to be causing a lot of dust. It seems to be raising a lot of dust as we speak. Now, it has led to confusion in the Labour Party camp, with contrasting statements coming from spokesperson for the party's presidential campaign council. Now, a leaked phone conversation exposing how the presidential candidate of the Labour Party LP in the 2023 general elections, Peter Obi, begged the founder of the Living Faith Church, Bishop David Oyedepo, to woo Christians in Kwara State and southwest region of Nigeria to vote for him. Of course, this particular conversation has been generating a lot of controversies. Obi, in the phone conversation with a popular cleric before the February 25 presidential election, described the presidential election as a religious war, in quote, and therefore pleaded with Bishop Oyedepo to help him secure the full support of Christians in Southwest and Kwara. Now, according to Obi, moving forward, he was already working on winning those in Kogi and Niger states to his side. I will just take a listen to that audio and then we come right back into this conversation.
Good morning, Daddy.
Praise the Lord. How are you, sir?
Fine, Daddy. Good morning, Daddy.
Amen. In Jesus' name, we are going to get a bright result.
Thank you, Daddy. When I hear this your call and prayers, Daddy is very dear to me. And like I keep saying, if this works, you people will never regret this support.
Amen. Amen.
You know.
We look forward to God's intervention.
Thank you, Daddy.
We look forward to God's intervention.
Thank you, Daddy.
We look forward to God's intervention.
Amen, Daddy. Daddy, I need you to speak to the people in the Southwest, your people in the Southwest, and Kwara.
Okay. I've been in touch with Kwara people.
The Christians in the Southwest and Kwara. This is a religious war.
I believe that. You know, I did the release, Nigeria Going Forward.
Yes.
And I'm coming out with the second one today.
Thank you, Daddy.
I wanted it out before when they won't have any time to do damage control.
Thank you, Daddy.
So, but in the name of Jesus, this project shall succeed.
Amen.
You know what I said into this one? A sickly nation like Nigeria will require a strong and healthy personality.
Thank you, sir.
And I said anyone whose source of wealth cannot be verified should not have access to governance, particularly in a draining economy like Nigeria. So all we are doing is appealing to the wisdom and conscience of people.
Thank you, Daddy.
To know where to go.
Thank you, Daddy.
But I want to assure you in the name of Jesus that the result shall be favorable.
Thank you, Daddy.
That the result shall be favorable.
Thank you, Daddy.
That the result shall be favorable.
Thank you, Jesus.
In Jesus' name.
Amen.
So relax yourself, don't be apprehensive. Are you in Lagos or Abuja?
I'm in Onitsha now.
Good. So you'll be there for the election?
Yes, sir.
Very good.
Yes, Daddy.
That's where to be.
Thank you, Daddy.
That's where to be.
Thank you, Daddy.
I said all Nigerians have equal stake in this nation. Nobody has a right to claim that he's dashing something to someone.
Thank you, Daddy.
We are coming out of it.
Thank you, Daddy.
So our young family in Jesus' name.
Amen.
So how is the East generally?
East is okay. East is quiet.
Okay.
Thank
and the Middle Belt, how are we doing?
Middle Belt, we're okay. But in places like Kogi, Kwara, and Niger, is a worrisome place.
Well, we'll get through to Kwara.
Oh, fantastic. I went to Kwara and visited Olofa Ofofa, who told me that nobody has ever come here. With you, no problem. But the Christian community in Kwara and Niger, and listen, I'm also working in Kogi, same way.
Okay. Then I will target these clips to them.
Thank you.
I will make sure they get it today.
Thank you.
In Jesus' name.
I'll be looking out for the release as well.
Okay.
Ask your pastor to send it to me.
Okay. I'll do that.
Thank you.
I'll do that. God bless you.
Thank you.
Peace. So I'll still talk to you later today.
Yeah, thank you, Daddy. Thank you, Daddy. Thank you.
Serious allegations
Serious
there.
allegations.
Yeah, and I know that a lot of Nigerians have different sides to this particular story. For some people, it is just a doctored audio conversation between these people, knowing fully well that even if you look back to the campaigns and even the elections, it is very obvious that Peter Obi was one person that, talked down on people voting along religious lines, and all of that. For him, it wasn't necessary, especially when we come from the background of the APC flying a Muslim ticket, and yeah, I remember also how Nigerians, saw that a particular action by the All Progressive Congress flying a Muslim ticket. So it brewed a lot of controversies on its own, making it look as if there was no Christian person from the northern extracts that had the capacity to actually hold that position as the presidential flag bearer for, or rather vice presidential flag bearer for the All Progressives Congress. So for this particular audio clip coming out to the public, I think it raises a lot of concerns as to the personality of even the People's Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi at this moment. I know that a lot of debunking has happened, especially coming from the founder of Living Faith Christian Church, now Bishop David Oyedepo, and all of that. But I think that Nigerians also have their own opinion concerning this. Like I said earlier, some people think it's actually doctored, but I know that given the integrity and the kind of person that Peter Obi is, a lot of people will go further to do a fact checking on this particular audio.
There's a lot to fact check about this. Is actually not an audio that should be jumped on.
Yeah.
Because for some people, if you pay attention very closely to the audio, it lacks the energy of conversation between these two people, because people that listen to Bishop Oyedepo very well will tell you that it lacks the Bishop Oyedepo energy behind the conversation. And to a very large extent, anything can be doctored. There is a celebrity in Nigeria who acts Bishop Oyedepo's voice perfectly, so it will not even be hard for us to have these kinds of things doctored. I mean, look at the attempts to have Peter Obi's very husky voice. Now we are leaning on the side of people that are saying, it is doctored. But then, if this is not doctored, right, we will try to look into what exactly was said in the conversation that will be hitting up the point.
Yeah, because
those are things to be broken down.
Exactly. Thank you for even bringing it to that point, because I know that, like we said earlier on, it's causing a lot of, dust, raising a lot of dust, even among the media aides of the Labour Party. Somebody like, what's his name now, Kenneth Okonkwo, said that audio is correct, but that it is taken out of context. So if the full conversation was what was pushed out, that Nigerians would understand exactly why that, those conversations, those lines of conversations were made, right? So it could also mean that, just like Kenneth said, that the conversation did happen, but it was taken out of context. So there were some parts of those conversation or that conversation that was deliberately taken out. So it could also, be pushed out there and be seen in a certain type of way, as to discrediting those that are having this conversation.
That's a very big possibility. That's a very big possibility, because either way, if you look at the just concluded cycle of election, they were religious leanings, so you do not know the context with which they were having that conversation before they landed where they said, okay, this is a religious, what was the word now? Religious war, right? Because if you look at it very well, why will a Peter Obi be saying it's a religious war? He might have been looking at it from maybe the tool of the Muslim ticket or anything. But now, where I want to come down to is the fact that we should be careful how we hop on things to use as tools against one another. And it's also very beautiful, because you expect that the likes of Bishop Oyedepo will not sit on the sidelines and not come out to speak, in defense of himself and his character with regards to this. These are people that have put in years as public figures, and you will not say that this is the first circle of election that they have witnessed in Nigeria. Why is this more important than others? So, and then there are quarters that are thinking, okay, the ruling All Progressives Party, Congress, they are trying a little too much to defend what they think is their mandate, that they won the elections. Because this is another worry, in the mix of all of this. Peter Obi is not the second runner-up in the just concluded election. There is an Alhaji Atiku Abubakar and the People's Democratic Party. Why is there so much controversy between the Labour Party and the suit and the result of the elections from the APC and the Labour Party? It's just a little too much. One would expect that this amount of energy should be coming out between PDP and APC. But it's all the way from APC. You jump one man in the middle that had about 7 million votes, and go to the person with 6 million votes. Why is there so much attempt? Do not forget that also in the course of this, we've had a man that was thrown out, allegedly so, from
the Ibom airline on Friday.
Yes, because it was alleged that he was an obedient that was trying to cause a scene. What's with all of those,
Funny enough, even if we want to look at that conversation a little bit, you find out that, for me, it's not everybody that shouts obedient are you, because he made a mention of the fact that obedient are you just watching and all of that. It doesn't mean that that person is an obedient or even believes in the Labour Party presidential candidate. So I just think it's just a scare moments or statements that he made at that point in time. But coming back to the conversation, Oyai, of course, Bishop David Oyedepo of Living Faith Church has revealed that all political parties that took part in the just concluded general election sought his prayer. Now, this was amidst a viral video, of course, the video that we're talking about, an alleged conversation between Oyedepo and presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi. I think we have a video of on what he responded yesterday during church service to debunk this particular comment. Anyways, he has said that a lot of people, came to him for prayers and all of that, and nobody, under the earth can actually ask him to do anything, and he does it. He spoke along those lines though, but more like he is, of course, he said there's no party in Nigeria that was running that didn't come to me for prayers, not one. I can't answer the prayer, I only pray for you, the pastor said. So that's where we are in terms of Bishop David Oyedepo, talking about that particular leaked audio.
And this particular audio now it's leaking weeks after the elections are held. Why didn't the audio leak, before the election? Why didn't it leak during the campaign season? Why is it leaking several weeks after, the election has come, and gone? Now, when we're talking about leaked audios, let's look at something, Janice. You're talking about two very respected figures, whether it's a Peter Obi or it's a Bishop Oyedepo. Who will go to the length of, trying to eavesdrop, so to speak, on their conversation to bring it out to the media space?
That's another question.
Controversy.
Yeah.
Because, when they're in a meeting or having a conversation, you do not expect that they had that conversation in a marketplace. Look at the two people involved. It's just like you telling us that all of a sudden the conversation is leaking between President Muhammad Buhari and, who we call now, I don't even know. So there are some of these things that you're going to see that they are deliberate attempts to push forward conversations that are not in favor of certain parties in the country, whether that is Nigerians or the Christian folks or, any other religion for that matter. But I think that this is a little too dicey for, whether it is doctored or whether I was original leaning on Kenneth Okonkwo's speech. If this was taken out of context, then the masterminds, are doing more harm than good to the country. Because why do you take an entire statement out of context and push it just for you to further drive tension in the country? It's not going to help us to, have any resolution at this time. And for God's sake, if you look at it again, it's just a conversation. Is religion a big thing in Nigeria? Yes, it is. So let's not make it bigger than what it is. Actually, I think that the situation can actually be allowed to rest.
Yeah, definitely allowed to rest. And I know that the spokesperson for the APC media, Festus Keyamo, has also jumped on this and, given Pastor Oyedepo a bad name for even getting involved in such conversation that could stem tribal, issues in the country. But we'll just leave that at that. And of course, as the day goes by, we'll see how unfolding the event will take a look. But let's look at our next story now. And that's the fact that the National Broadcasting Commission, NBC, has slammed the 5 million naira on one of Nigeria's private broadcast station. Now, this is in connection with a statement made by the vice presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Dati Baba Ahmed, where he said that the All Progressives Congress presidential-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu did not fulfill the constitutional right of getting 25% in the FCT, the Federal Capital Territory, and so it is very unconstitutional for him to be sworn in as the president come May 29. Now, I know that Serap, has also jumped on this particular issue to talk to the president, to see how they can actually stop slamming broadcast stations and even individuals because they are stalking, public officers, and all of that. But we would say that this particular 5 million naira fine is a little bit too much for this private station because of an interview it granted to the vice presidential candidate of the Labour Party. And even with this fine, Uyai, Baba Ahmed Dati has also said that he is not retracting his comment. He's not retracting his statement, that he still reiterates the fact that it is very unconstitutional for Bola Ahmed Tinubu to be sworn in on May 29.
The issue with this conversation is that Dati Baba Ahmed has his facts and figures, from whence he's speaking. So it's not a matter of, he's just wish-washing through it. He has his reasons for saying that. And you really can't hold a man ransom for what he believes in. This is what he believes in because of certain things that they have looked into as Labour Party. Now, is it, are the broadcasters or the broadcast organization liable to what, these people believe in for a cause that they went to fight for? No, they are not responsible for it. Did he try to fight anybody? No, he just said, based on the facts and figures that we have on ground, we do not see it legitimate by the law, of the election proceedings for, Bola Ahmed Tinubu to be declared, sworn in as president. If you have a problem with that, argue it out in court. Like we have said, that's the new slogan. If you have an issue, head straight to court. So we should also wait for the courts to, settle this out. Taking broadcast organizations and broadcasters in the middle is also a problem because we must give the populace an opportunity to see real time what's happening in the country. The attempts to sugarcoat the conversations and things happening is really not going to work. But of course, we've also seen that Serap has taken the federal government and NBC to court on the matter. Remember last week or so, we were saying, what is the role of the NBC? There are certain guidelines by which, broadcast works in the country. When it's more like institutions are no longer independent of certain influences, and you're a big man here and there can call you and tell you, I do not like the way Janice's voice sounded on Rise and Shine this morning. Slam her. You do not go back to the guidelines of the NBC code. Where did Janice or station ABC aired? Right, but you're just jumping up
because it looked as if embassy waiter did not find anything wrong in that particular statement by Baba Ahmed Dati until the APC decided that, oh, this is way too much. And so
it wasn't the embassy that initially called the media house to order. It was as a result of a suit. Why not question the process? You know, these are some of the issues that we're having. And if you have, you know, Dati Ahmed, Baba Dati coming out to say, I still stand, you know, on what I said, maybe you want to push the fine to Dati Ahmed, you know, instead of, you know, trying to just putting people in the loop. But he has said what he said. Like, I'm leaning back again. If this is a problem, let the courts be the ones to justify whether he is wrong or he is right? So let's just listen to him on this particular set of interview and we'll get right back into this.
I believe in this document. That is why I'm so lawful. That is why I'm so confident. And that is why I'm, however extreme it is, Sheung, I am saying it on national TV. I don't like to take risks. I'm not taking any risks. Swearing in a ticket that has not met the constitutional requirements of the Constitution, okay, is ending democracy. Quote me on it.
That's your interpretation.
That is my interpretation, and that is indeed a correct.
Of course, that's an interview that was done on Channel's television during Politics Today. That's, you know, where that Baba Ahmed made that particular rendition. And he says he still stands by it. This is not a matter of I'm afraid of anyone. He's like, I am not going to take, we now, more like he's speaking on behalf of the Labour Party, we are not willing to take any risk, you know, from as a result of this election. We must say things the way they are and address them head on. That is what he believes in. But the problem is, why is the NBC or the APC having a problem with the media house and not who went to make the statement? I mean, he was asked a question by the broadcaster and that was his response. Did the broadcaster put the answers in his mouth?
You know, these are very big issues, and it still comes back to the fact that when things like this happen, okay, it tries to gag the press.
Exactly.
So if this particular private organization, media house, is being fined a 5 million naira fine, I think that it will also hinder them from going to these kinds of people next time to get value conversation, because we're talking about value added conversations. And if you do not get these people real time to come and talk about certain issues that is affecting them and the general populace of the country, I think it just puts us in a corner where we cannot even do the things that we as media would want to do to educate the public, to find solutions to what the public is facing, and to also be a watchdog to government, because that is what the media is supposed to do as the fourth realm of the estate. To be a watchdog to the government. And if we are not given that ample opportunity and freedom, you know, to be able to do our job properly, we are scared, oh, there must be a fine somewhere. So you're even very skeptical about the kinds of guests you're going to be bringing on your show. Meanwhile, these are resource persons that could add value or will add value to your conversations. I think it's very terrible. But Serap has also sued the federal government and the MPC, and we see how that works. Because sometimes when you say Serap is suing, I don't think I've ever seen, you know, real-time results out of all of these cases and suits that Serap has pushed. But again, but again, I think it just goes a long way in trying to like put some kinds of checks and balances in some of the things that government does.
Checks and balances is something we lack. You know, an accountability system where, you know, there's a set of rules that can call an institution to order. That's something we lack in the country. And really, we would like to give it to Serap. They have been trying. Like in the last year or two, they've really been on a lot of situations. Now, just to lean back on what Baba Ahmed, you know, said, his argument is that the APC failed to meet the requirement of section 132 subsection 2A and B of the Nigerian Constitution for election into the office of the president. Now, he addressed President Buhari and the Chief Justice of Nigeria, CJ, and Justice Olukayode Ruwola, He said, do not hold that inauguration. Now, he was addressing the CJ and your lordship. Do not partake in unconstitutionality. You cannot swear in people who haven't met the constitutional requirements, for the elections. Now, these are conversations that are in broad daylight. Dati Baba Ahmed is quoting the Constitution. 132 subsection 2 A and B says you who instituted the process of elections cannot go against this. It's not like it's fabricated stories around the election. We are calling out the Constitution in your just before you defend it in the course of the law. And I think in this season, we have also seen our institutions running around circles when there are guidelines on how to do things. Yeah. And we wonder where this is really driving us to as a country.
Well, we'll just hang it in there and then take a breather now. And when we come back, of course, we still have Daily Spotlight and we have all the conversations lined up for you. Of course, we'll definitely give Nigerians an opportunity to make their opinion and get ahead as well. But let's join Mary Joseph, who's standing by for the news brief. And when we come back, of course, Rise and Shine will continue. Just stay with us.
Every society is premised on the quality of relationships forged by its inhabitants. The health of these relationships determines how well people, relationships, organizations thrive and how long they stick together. Join Uyai Anyekan on Connect every Wednesday from 6 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. and on Sunday 2:30 to 3 p.m. on channel 421 on Star Times to catch all the conversations, interviews, real stories and how to navigate relationships and family life in the 21st century. Real people, real faces, real stories. Connect live on Spectrum Television.
The Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the Constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the Matters Council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people, but there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTimes DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
One truth not often told is about the transformation that Africa has undergone in recent decades. Africa is shaping its own destiny and should be referred to as the African opportunity. On Spotlight Africa, we paint the African picture the African way, laced with truth, detail, and the color of the African continent. Join Uyai Anyekan every Tuesday and Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. Spotlight Africa, telling the African story.
As of state and government, Secretary General, delegates.
This was the Lagos Nigeria for Spectrum TV to report for the last 6 seconds to count.
Good morning. This is your morning news briefing Spectrum live from Uyo. I am Mary Joseph. We begin the morning news brief from the national scene where President Muhammadu Buhari, his Vice President Yemi Osibajo and the 44 ministers in the Federal Executive Council will soon start declaring their assets ahead of May 29 when their tenure will end. The special advisor to the CCB chairman on general duties, Mustafa Musa, who confirmed this to newsmen, said the necessary arrangement had been made for the issuance of the asset forms to the outgoing officials and their successors. The Presidential Transition Council has debunked the fake Twitter handle created by unethical persons since 2020. A statement signed by the Director Information for the Secretary to the Government of the Federation and Chairman, Presidential Transition Council, Willie Bassi, noted that the fake Twitter handle was created before the establishment and inauguration of the Council. Bassi stressed that approval for the establishment of the Presidential Transition Council was given by the President in February this year and was subsequently inaugurated by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, thereby exposing the imposters, irresponsible and calculated attempt to disseminate inaccurate and tainted information to unsuspecting members of the public. Meanwhile, the 36 state governors in Nigeria have planned to meet with officials of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, and the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, among others, to iron out issues surrounding state security votes. The Nigeria Governors Forum, NGF, through its head, Sokoto State Governor Aminu Tambawal, who announced this, said the meeting, which was slated for Tuesday, April 4, according to an invitation issued by the Director General of the Nigeria Governors Forum, Ashihana Okaru, would be virtual to ensure full attendance by all the relevant officers in the matter. On fuel subsidy, the All Progressives Congress Presidential Campaign Council has said that the incoming administration of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu will decide the date the fuel subsidy will be removed. Recall that the President's administration has said that subsidy policy will end by June when the budget for the initiative will lapse. Meanwhile, the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, IPMAN, has insisted that it is opposed to the removal of subsidy on petrol with the country not refining the product locally. The IPMAN Public Relations Officer Chinedu Udakdike, in an interview with newsmen, insisted that the nation's refineries must be operational before the subsidy could be removed. We head now to the foreign scene where Finnish consecutive leader Petteri Orpo has won a nail-biting three-way election race, defeating Prime Minister Sanna Marin Centelev. Orpo won 20.8% of the votes ahead of the right-wing populist Finnish party and the centre-left. The leader of the National Coalition Party, after a dramatic night in which the result gradually swung away from Marin's Social Democrats, said they got the biggest mandate. And finally, in sport, Chelsea have sacked manager Graham Potter after less than 7 months in charge following Saturday's 2-0 home defeat by Aston Villa. It was the Englishman's 11th defeat in 31 games since replacing Thomas Tuchel at Stamford Bridge on 8 September. The club in a statement also announced that Bruno Salto will take charge of the team as interim head coach. In his time with the Chelsea, Potter has taken the club to quarter-final of Champions League, where they will face Real Madrid. We'll have details of these stories and more in our news at 12. I am Mary Joseph. Let's head back to Rise and Shine, where we have Janice and Uyai on standby. Do have a wonderful morning.
As of government, Secretary General, delegates.
Disasters being Lagos, Nigeria for Spectrum TV to recover 45 seats taken to county.
Every society is premised on the quality of relationships forged by its inhabitants. The health of these relationships determines how well people, relationships, organizations thrive and how long they stick together. Join Uyai and Yekan on Connect
every Wednesday from 6 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. and on Sunday 2:30 to 3 p.m. on channel 421 on Star Times
to catch all the conversations, interviews, real stories and how to navigate relationships and family life in the 21st century. Real people, real faces, real stories. Connect live on Spectrum Television.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people, but there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, Advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTime's DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Welcome back and thanks for joining us. This is Rise and Shine. We're coming to you live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom State, Nigeria. And on Spectrum Television, Rise and Shine Daily, we bring you issues of importance happening around the country. And we've done so this morning, looking into certain controversial issues. A leaked audio, an alleged leaked audio of a conversation between Bishop David Oyedepo of Living Faith Church and the Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi. Of course, this particular leaked audio has caused a lot of uproar and the conversations are highly controversial. Whether or not this happened is left for investigations to prove. And also we looked at the fact that there's also
a slam on a private television station at the tune of 5 million naira because of a comment made by the vice presidential candidate now of the Labour Party, Ahmed Babadati, saying that it is very unconstitutional to swear in Bola Ahmed Tinubu as the next president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
That's some serious talk there.
Yeah,
that is quite serious. But then he is firm on the fact that it goes against the constitutional, processes of getting a president, provisions of getting a president into that office. But those are some of the things that we've already conversed about. Now you can catch up on all those conversations across all our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. You would always have feeds of our broadcast on our social media. So do well to follow, like, and share. Of course, we've also come back from Mary Joseph, giving us tidbits of global news. At this point, we'll be moving straight up to Daily Spotlight, where we'll be looking at the front pages of our national dailies.
Okay, let's see what the papers have for us today. Monday, the 2nd of April, 2023. And our first paper for this morning is Daily Sun. It says, the big caption here says, governors, EFCC, CBN to meet over security votes. Ohaneze, MBF, AYCF won on interim government. You can find that story on page 6. And the writer of that story says, claims are suspicious, urge security agencies to be open on matter. We also have that Senate President, APC group says Kalu most qualified, okay? You have that story on page 26 and 27. And of course, the writer here says opposition against zoning speakership to Northwest grows. FCTA repatriates 217 destitute beggars to Katsina, Kanu, Abia, Imo, Delta, and others. Udi, Ezagu leaders, friends celebrate Ogwani for peace, security, unity, and progress. And of course, the story here says Buhari hails Anthony Joshua's victory over Jermaine Franklin. And we have another story here that says how to win war against corruption policy group. I think if that is anything to go by, I think it's a very good, write-up, or it's more like an essay on how to win the war against corruption. Efforts to discredit Obi will fail woefully, campaign organization tells APC. And the writer says dismisses Oyedepo Obi fake audio conversation as product of APC's forgery. Of course, details of that can be gotten on page 27 of the Daily Sun. IPOP flays killings of members in Abia. You can get that story on page 28. And that's all we have on Daily Sun this morning.
Okay, our very next paper now will be Nigerian Tribune. And looking at the front page of Nigerian Tribune, we see here leaked phone talk between Obi Oyedepo causes furor. It is mischief, subterfuge, a deep fake Obi Dati campaign council. I have never campaigned for anybody or spoken on anybody's behalf, Oyedepo. Obi's desire to be president has died a natural death, said Kiyamo. Unauthorized wiretapping of private telephone conversations worrisome. Janice, you see, that was the point I was trying to raise earlier. Sorry. Ogundami, see, all of these stories can be found on page 2. Nigerians will not cease demanding restructuring, says Soyinka. Obedient passenger to appear before Abuja Airport Magistrate Court. NDLEA declares prophetess celebrity couple wanted over seized illicit drugs. Rivers police explain detention of election materials after release of lawyers. Arrest of lawyers an aberration, prove Nigeria is dysfunctional. Now these are lawyers even crying out also. So governors, CBN, EFCC, ICPC, FIRS meet on Tuesday on security votes and cashless policy. The last story here on the front page of Nigerian Tribune says why EFCC was involved in 2023 general election by the head boss, Bauer. That story can be found on page 25, and that's all we have on the front page.
Okay, let's look at our next paper for the morning, and that's This Day newspaper. The big story on This Day newspaper says Tinubu begins team building, considers Gbajabiamila chief of staff. Okay, and the writer says Wale Edun Bagudu also in high consideration for key roles. Soyinka advises president-elect to either restructure Nigeria or fail. Another writer says insists nation won't cease demanding change. Okay, and we also have new breakthrough drug, Dostarlimab emerges for cancer treatment. Okay, I think that's great news if that's anything to go by. And we also have another story here that says Wike's police arrested APC lawyers filing petition in Rivers, coal alleges. Wike's police arrested APC lawyers filing petition in Rivers, coal alleges. And Falano, presidents can't withhold assent to constitution alteration bills. And the writer says presidents must sign, Justice Okeke ruled in 2010. Okay, Reuters survey at about 1.6 million barrels per day. Nigeria's oil production was OPEC's biggest increase in March. And the writer says experts urges next government to comply to, let me get that correct now, to emplace independence powerful regulator for oil and gas industry. I think we are. This is a very important statement to make while we are looking at a situation where Nigeria in the last couple of months, had issues with meeting of the, daily requirement of OPEC in terms of how many barrels per day we are supposed to, the quota now, the OPEC quota. It was quite difficult for us to meet up with that. I know that a lot of issues and situations were said that warranted such shortage, like the oil theft, the pipeline vandalism and all of that. And we remember also there was when we talked about these issues, there was a revelation that showed that some people some years ago linked a pipeline directly from the how do I put it now, more
production
like
house.
Sorry,
from the production house
exactly to some vessel down the ocean or something like that. So I think that if we are looking at a situation where this next administration will take serious look at the oil sector, so that we don't have these kinds of issues, you know, and all of that. It will be a great boost to the economy.
It's good to look at the issues clearly. Remember also that a few months, I think that was last month or thereabouts, where they had also come out to say, you know, the fact that we fall short of the OPEC quota is not just because of oil theft. We also have losses incurred through production line. So, you know, maybe in terms of packing or one thing or the other. So it's not just generalized as, you know, theft. There are other things that happen in the course of production that makes
like
us
wastage.
Yeah, wastage and all of those things that makes us fall short. So if we have a decision by the government to look squarely into that and see how we can block any loose ends, then I think we'll be making good progress. And
Like experts are saying, you say place independent. Now, when you say independent, it should be devoid of any form of interferences, you know, from government or any kind of private individuals, or the who is who in maybe the political scene or something like that. And then it also says powerful regulators for oil and gas, obviously to very stringent policies to regulate the oil and gas sector is very necessary at this point. And if those that are regulating the oil and gas sector, it should be something that, okay, there are punitive measures. If you fault, if you're caught, you know, as an offender, or you're caught faulting, there should be serious punitive measures, you know, put in place. So it's not just about you know, being independent. There should be powerful regulators also for the oil and gas sector. But that's it on this day newspaper right now. We'll go now to our next paper. Yes,
let's move down to the Nation. And then the big story there says governors NFRU on collision course over cash withdrawal. You can't spend cash, agency tells helmsmen of state. Must they spend security votes in cash? If it is payments they want to make, they can do it through transfer. It doesn't have to be in cash. That's a strong point, Janice. You know, always having like state governor or, you know, people at the helms of affairs going to events and they're doing transactions through cash. Why can't these transactions be done through transfer, so that we can also have even a tracking system of what's going on? And I think sometimes that's what you know, people at the helms of affairs are trying to avert by not, you know, using that system. But that's a big call there. Why PDP's NEC BOT governors can't save IU? That story is on page 2. Investors made 1.6 trillion naira gain in QI quarter 1. Yes, page 15. Consumer goods firms lend. We also have your 25-year-old South African wins BB Titan to the tune of $100,000, page 2. We also have your Pope Francis urges all to unite and pray for peace. China loans Africa transparent. We also have here Trump flies to New York for arraignment. How proceeds from petrol subsidy removal should be used. Man, LCCI list options. Federal government borrowed 3.17 trillion naira in 3 months. We have here cholera infected 922, killed 32 in 9 weeks, says NCDC. And these are all the stories that we have. Okay, we have here Chelsea, Leicester sack coaches. Buhari, Tinubu, hail Anthony Joshua. And that's all the stories that we have on the front page of the Nation.
I think our last paper for the morning is the Punch newspaper, where the big story says, end of tenure, Buhari Osibajo, 28 governors, minister to begin asset declaration. And the writer says, outgoing public office holders must declare assets by May 29, CCB officials are saying. President-elect Tinubu Shettima, 28 incoming governors get CCB form this month, of course, to declare assets as well. And then we have a story here that says Pope Kaigama preach love service as Christians observe Palm Sunday. Tanker fire worsens Lagos-Ibadan expressway gridlock. 22-year-old Ogun woman found dead in room
boyfriend held. Quite sad story. Ramadan, why the aged may abstain from fasting. You want to get details of that, you find it on page 226. Chinese loans rise by 209% under Buhari. And we have NGX suspends Sterling Bank share trading. Federal government to demolish Lagos airport jet hangar April 15. And that's all the story that we have on the front page of the Punch newspaper. Let's just open the phone lines for Nigerians to have their reactions made this morning concerning most of the conversations we've had, and some of which have also been on the front pages of our national daily this morning, especially that of the leaked audio conversation of the Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi and the founder of Living Faith Christian Church, Bishop David Oyedepo. And something that you raised earlier on that is also on the papers this morning, the place of even the Nigerian Communication Commission, that's NCC, unauthorized wiretaping of private telephone conversations is quite worrisome, which means that at this point people do not even have privacies to their personal conversations or their private conversations anymore. I remember also in 2015 when former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan put a call across to President Muhammadu Buhari during after the elections now, to congratulate him while counting was going on. Before you know what was happening, that conversation was leaked on social media, and it shows that at this point Nigerians, we might not even be safe anymore, even with our phones. Because when we were having that conversation earlier this morning, in my head I'm like, was the phone bugged or something, so people cannot have their privacy anymore, even with their phone conversations? It's quite terrible. It's really quite terrible. If really that this audio that was leaked was actually not doctored, and it's not in any way towards tainting the image of the Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi.
It's actually really worrisome, because you're thinking, who is calling the shots and giving the authorization for people's phone lines to be tapped? How do you just go into someone's log and bring that out without their consent? Was there a warrant, so to speak, to say, okay, we have there's an allegation against you doing so and so, saying so and so, so with regards to this we need to tap into your phone lines? But then you do this to two respectable public figures and then just bring it on the internet. Now, if that is if it was actually tapped and not just acted, so it's a major problem, and these are questions institutions need to answer. But we have our first caller this morning, and let's take that very one. Hello, good morning. Your name and where you are calling from?
Good morning. This is Ekpaise, calling from Makodi, Benue State.
What's your name, please? Ekaite?
Ekpaise.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, calling from Benue. All right,
go ahead, please.
All right. I'm afraid right now holding this conversation can be so scary, because I don't know who must have tapped my line. We are the peak of trouble. It can't get any worse. And I want to assure Nigerians that what is to come is worse than this. If we can't have our privacy, we can't hold conversations. See, you must agree with me that thing, even if it was real, if it was doctored, something must have led to that conversation. It could be that they first of all talked about the Muslim ticket, which is a war. I know it is a war. It is a religious war against Nigerians. A multi-religious country like Nigeria, you couldn't find a Christian worthy to be your running mate. Is it not a religious war? But they wouldn't want to give you all of that. The doctor, they have thought maybe where he was talking about an interim government, they couldn't find it. Where he must have given the church 1 billion naira or 10 billion naira, they couldn't find it. So they're just looking for where to pin him down. So my dear, we are in trouble. We just hope the trouble that is coming for Nigeria doesn't get worse than this. If not, we can't trust anything. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much,
so much
for calling. really serious points there. You know, Peter Obi seems to be one political candidate in this season that has made it difficult for opponents to find something to pin him down with. Like quite rightly said, you might have wanted to look for more indicting comments by him at any quarter, but then searched and couldn't find, and then they cut this one out of context to, you know, further heat up the polity.
Yeah.
But that's also a side to look at this point. Serious concerns being raised, but like we were saying just before the first call, and he you know jokingly used it as a joke also, you do not know who is currently tapping into your phone conversations. What's the guarantee? Who is making such authorizations and tapping people's phone conversations and releasing it? For what purposes exactly? Right.
Yeah. Okay, let's take another call and find out what Nigerians are saying. Hello, good morning. Good morning. What's your name and where are you calling us from?
Okay, I am Elizabeth.
Elizabeth?
Osai.
Okay.
Yes.
You're calling us from where?
And I am calling from Delta State.
From Delta State.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. To me, to my own observation, what I see into this issue is that you know, Peter B is just like a rock that cannot be moved. You know, when you look at what is going on in this country, we really want a change in this country. And it just happened that this man just came from nowhere. And when we saw the kind of person he is, and the whole Nigeria supported him, we didn't support him because we knew him before. We love him because of what he can offer to Nigerians. And the APC, when they saw that this guy is going to be a big problem to them, they are doing all they could to make sure that they will use a particular accusation against him. That is the way I see it. But then I just pray that that this issue will not go anywhere. To me, I believe that this issue will not go to anywhere. And I thank God for you guys, what you are doing to Nigerians.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Spectrum, I thank God for your lives, for allowing poor people like us, common people like us, to hear our.
All right, thank you so much, Elizabeth, from Delta State. I think that the conversation should even go beyond, you know, whatever it is that was discussed in the leak audio tape right now. It's also behoves on the law, you know, agencies or the relevant agencies to decipher whether that conversation is actually true or not. But I think where the concern is and where the fear is actually right now is that people do not even have, you know, privacy anymore when you talk about having phone conversations, because it makes it, when that of Goodluck Ebele Jonathan happened, I don't think that Nigerians you know, took it with a pinch of salt, and now this is happening again. Now, who gives authorizations for phone conversations to be wiretapped to the point that, you know, it's pushed out in the public domain and it is being used against people? So I think that is where we should even be dragging this conversation to, and not necessarily whatever it is that was discussed in that particular leaked audio tape. Yes. Why should it happen in the first place? You know, why should conversations be wiretapped? So I could just be here and I don't even know that my phone has been bugged. So whatever it is I am saying, people are listening to it. I think that the Nigerian Communication Commission should be held accountable for whatever it is and how that conversation actually went into the public domain.
That's a big point we need to come back to. Hello, good morning. Your name and where you're calling from. Good morning. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Good morning, ladies in the house.
Good morning.
My name is Tony, calling from Benue State.
Go ahead.
Good morning, Tony.
Thank you. You see, the case of P2B, God knows everything about him. And I will give you some reasons. In Enugu State, there is one Reverend Father that spoke against him and he ran into trouble. Ike Kuremadu spoke against him and he ran into trouble. I think the God's hand is in this man. By the time he left PDP and went to Labour Party, they say, why did he go to Labour Party that did not have name? As he went into Labour Party start having name. They say Labour Party didn't have structure. That he can't even win his ward in Anambra State. Elections have come and gone, and they are going to tribunal. They are not even facing the tribunal. They have bring another chapter. Only what I'm saying is that God knows everything about him, and God wants to remember Nigeria. We can't continue going as we are going. Nobody is talking about tribunal now. DSS come with one thing before you know, and that thing coming before you know, the leaked phone audio conversation comes in. I'm waiting upon the Lord. That's the only thing.
All right, thank you very much, Tony, who's one of our very regular callers.
Yeah.
Something that he said that we tried to push in earlier was the fact that the conversation by Yakubu Mahmood, the chairman of INEC, was let's head to court. Between that time and now, we have not seen the progression, of how this
court proceedings. Yeah, we've not seen. Yeah,
you haven't quite seen how those things have picked up. It's now from one, little extras,
allegations to another, and all of that. It just makes puts us in a position where Nigerians will be thinking of so many things. Is this is this like how do I put it, a deliberate attempt to scuttle the whole process of court proceedings and all of that? And still talking about interim government and the statement that was made by the state Department of State Services. Now we've not had the list of all that happened. I know the Nigerians were of the opinion that if the DSS comes up with such information, very intelligent information or intelligence information, it is left for them to prove, that this actually happened by arresting the culprits or the perpetrators of that act. But we've not had the list of that yet, and it puts us in a situation where we do not even have the capacity to believe some of those things anymore. We are beginning to find the authenticity behind some of this. Question the authenticity of some of these issues and allegations that have been made against certain political parties. But still looking at the papers this morning, I think we'll just take this call before we go to our next line of conversation this morning. Hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning. Can you turn down the volume of your television set so we can have a smooth conversation? Please help us to do that. Help us to do that. Turn it down absolutely out. What's your name, sir?
I'm calling from Akwa.
What's your name, sir? You're calling from Akampa.
What's your name?
What's your name?
My name is God's Power.
We didn't get that though.
My name is God's Power.
Okay, God's Power from Akampa. Go ahead, God's Power.
From Akwa Ibom.
From Akwa Ibom. God's Power from Akwa Ibom. Go ahead.
Okay.
We are with you.
My own opinion is that P2B is somebody that God brings up for us, Nigeria. For we to, Peter is a fisher of men. Peter is a fisher of men, and we follow him as a good candidate. We see all the black guideline that he is a good man that Nigeria will follow. So my own opinion is that let them leave Peter alone for them to describe him as a bad man. Peter is a good man.
All right, thank you.
For him to do that, let Nigeria leave that man alone.
All right, thank you, God's Power. I think you've made your point. Thank you so much for calling. Thank you, God's Power.
He's more like his talk is about the fact that don't attempt to give a dog, quote unquote, a bad name just to hang it. He hasn't given room for such things. One question about Peter Obi, the man, is how did he live his life? Because to find his life in the political space is quite difficult. It's so hard for opponents to find something to pin him down on. And now that's why Nigerians are leaning to the fact that more Nigerians believe this was doctored than they believe that this was wiretapped, But then these are questions that, even like you said, the NEC needs to come out and tell us, is this true? first of all, why was it done? Who gave the authorization for it to be done? Because it's more like I can just be interested in a conversation you had with someone, and I feel like I have the right to know and just place a call to the NEC, and it will be released to me because I know someone who knows someone. What are the procedures before phone conversations are tapped into and released? You know, like I asked earlier, this conversation sounds like something that had happened during campaign season prior to the elections. I mean, a question was asked, where are you? I'm in Anambra, I'll be voting from Anambra, you know, and like Nigerians have already started making jokes about it. This conversation was done several weeks ago. Why is it just coming out, you know?
Not even several weeks, several months. The election was in February.
I mean, so we have done a month already.
Yeah, of course.
So why is it just coming out? The timing doesn't tally. Like Tony Eze said, we have finished the elections. We're supposed to be heading to court because that is where the chairman of INEC directed disgruntled parties in the election to go. But why are we moving from, you know, election results to interim government conversation, now phone lead conversation? Who is trying to distract Nigerians from what is most important?
Well, it could look like a distraction at this point in time, but Nigerians and the federal government have a lot of answers or questions to answer. Let's just take this call. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. What's your name and where are you calling us from?
I'm Benjamin calling from Adamawa.
Benjamin from Adamawa. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, thank you. I'm just want to contribute. Yes, I just want to add my voice to the conversation.
Please go ahead and add your voice.
I just had the conversation played on AIT. Yes, I had the conversation played on IT, and what I saw in the convention, what is criminating there? Follow the conversation. Is it the daddy? Tinubu hold how many times did Tinubu hold meetings with Muslim community in Kano, in Oshun, in Oshobo? Did he ever hold any meeting with Christian leaders? So why do we want to make Nigeria like some people different?
All right, thank you. If that's your opinion or your contribution.
Yes, what I'm saying is that what is incriminating there?
Okay, you are asking. Your question is what exactly is incriminating there? Tinubu visited, you know, Muslim clerics. There was no issue. Now Peter Obi, I think that is his.
But when he says that did Tinubu, you know, visit the Christians, I think that Tinubu did visit every religion, and remember also the issue of the fake clergymen in Kasok and all of that. So there's just been a lot, you know, in trying to. But I know that at some point, you know, the what do you call it now? What's the organization now? Christian Khan, finally met with the president-elect during the campaigns and all of that, and serious conversations were held along those lines, and him also trying to let people, especially the Christians, know that, look, whatever it is we are doing in the All Progressives Congress in terms of flying a Muslim ticket, it was not in any way to spite the Christians, but it's because we are looking at capacity, and for him and the All Progressives Congress family, they think that Kashim Shettima was just the best candidate for that. And I know that there were lots of narrations that were pushed forward. The fact that, oh, my children are all Christians, my wife is a Christian, I don't stop them from going to church and all of that. So it's not at all, you know, it's trying to spite the Christians or to bring about ethnic division or religious divisions in the country or whatever. So he actually met with Christians at some point. But just like, is it Benjamin now? Benjamin, yes, our last caller is saying, what is it about this particular conversation that is so indicting at this point in time that, you know, some couple of Nigerians are pushing some kinds of negative narrations towards it and all of that. But yeah, another issue I would like us to look at is this one on the Punch newspaper. Of course, we are also giving room for Nigerians to have their say as well. end of tenure, Buhari, Osibajo, 28 governors, ministers begin asset declaration. Now, I know that when this particular administration started in 2015, President Muhammadu Buhari actually did an asset declaration, and he made Nigerians know that he has just one house in Daura, and I think how many thousands of cows now and all of that. And you know, recently he has also made mention of the fact that once he's done with this particular administration, he's going back to his one house in Daura and going to stay far away from governance and the seat of government and all of that. So asset declaration now, I think it's just a way of trying to scrutinize some of these public officers. Declare your assets now, so that when you leave office, we begin to know how corrupt or not corrupt you were in terms of using of public funds. But again, does asset declaration actually puts some kind of integrity on the part of these public officers? Because we've had governors that have also been arrested because of very serious corruption allegations attached to them. We've had heads of state and presidents that are still returning looted funds back into the country as we speak. Yes, public office holders, and all of that. Serious issues here. But I think that if these people, Osibajo, 28 governors and ministers, begin to, do their asset declaration as per before they came into governance, and now that they are leaving, how many things have they been able to gather for themselves? How will we now know which one was gotten out of, funds from the country?
The question with this is, there's a tendency for us to try to be holier than the Pope when you're talking about declaration of assets for outgoing public offices. You sat in a public office for 8 years, and you have been paid with hefty benefits. You can't tell me that of all the investments that you had before entering the office, in 8 years, with what you earned as salary as president or as vice president or as minister, plus fringe benefits, Janice, you did not add any other investments into the things you had already had. What plans do you have for your future? Because it's worrisome when you have the likes of the president say, oh, I came in with one house in Dara, I'm living with one house in Dara, I had 120 cows. When I entered, someone asked, your cows, they did not give birth in 8 years. Exactly. Didn't the cows give birth in 8 years? Were they not reproducing? From your cows, were you not selling? Were you not making milk? It doesn't make sense, because sometimes you're trying to present yourself in a light that it doesn't really tally. As a businessman who runs a corporation before coming to public office, did your business suddenly die? Weren't you making money in all of these years? If we put a total sum of how much you've been paid in salaries from day one in office to the day you leave, and all your fringe benefits, it's going to be running into millions and millions and millions of naira. Were there no investments that you made as offshoot of that? I think what this represents is, if they're saying come declare your assets upon leaving office, it's easy for you to say, oh, with the amount of money that I was paid from my salaries, these were the investments that I made, and these are the papers showing you the source of income and where it was done. It shouldn't be if you do not have anything to hide. You can't start being afraid that all fingers will be pointing that you stole government money. No, you were actually working for 8 years and earning a living through those positions, and all of that. So it shouldn't be a matter of one Dara house in, one Dara house out, 128 cows in, 128 cows out. You didn't make any kind of progress whatsoever. We are done. I know there's something like a pension scheme where people in public offices keep getting paid although they leave. Is that all you want to lean on? We are talking about forward thinking economic investment here, even as people are at the helms of affairs. So what I think the conversation around here is honesty and transparency should be a part of the asset declaration process, because sometimes it's just that you're trying to present yourself in the best light.
The question now becomes, are people actually honest in when declaring assets. I just looked up something now, and it says the 1999 Constitution, as amended, stipulates that every public officer should declare his or her assets immediately after taking office, and at every 4 years or at the end of the term of office. Now, the Code of Conduct Bureau is pushing for this particular asset declaration, but are we honest enough to declare our assets accordingly? Let's take this call. Hello, good morning. Okay, drop call. Please do well to call us. The phone lines are still open. Let's talk about asset declaration as according to the Code of Conduct Bureau.
And do we really believe in it? Does it really work?
Does it really work? Yeah. That's the point. Does it really work? Yeah. Does it hold water in any way? Hello? Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Please, can you turn down the volume of your television set? Thank you. Turn it down totally.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
What's your name and where are you calling us from? Good morning. We can hear you.
Your name and where you're calling from, we can absolutely hear you.
Yes, it's Andrew from Adamawa.
Andrew from Adamawa. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, I say Andrew from Adamawa.
All right, Andrew, go ahead. We can hear you. Go ahead.
Yes, I like the discussion you made on this asset declaration. It's just a, can I say, I don't know how to put it, but it's just a formality. So, it's just a,
okay, so Andrew, yeah, we can still hear ourselves. We can still hear ourselves on your TV.
On asset declaration, Saraki, and the rest of the other issues that went after. So,
okay, so I think we'll just have to drop this.
Yeah, because we're still hearing ourselves, but
and like he's busy waiting to hear himself talk on television, yeah, before he continues. So it's
just
not a good way to have a conversation.
TV, yeah, but like he said, it looks like mere formality, but we need you to please turn down the volume of your television set every time you are placing the call, so that we avoid the hallback. It's more like we are hearing ourselves in double places. That's how it feels on this end, and it's very uncomfortable. Yeah. We can't hear you clearly, so please turn down the volume of your television set when you want to place a call. And if you have a difficulty reaching us via our phone lines, WhatsApp and text messages are available platforms for you to also use. But serious conversation, we're talking about asset declarations currently being pushed for by 4 outgoing public office holders and those that are now, elect in different seats for governance in this time. But we have a call. Let's take this particular one. Hello, good morning. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Still Andrew from Adamawa.
All right, Andrew. I believe you have turned down the volume of your television.
Yes.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
As I was saying, that the asset declaration matter is just like formality, because why do you? It's just like a place where people keep document that when they want to return to, they just go back and check. Did this guy put I on his dotted his I or T? Most of the governors and the people to even identify their properties, this thing is owned by somebody. But say that this hotel now is owned by a politician who will even know from your state, from your town, that he owned the person. The person will deny it throughout his tenure that he doesn't own that thing, he doesn't have anything to do. And you that is from that place, either as a journalist or as somebody from the same state, know that this property belongs to this person. And he will deny it over media, and I don't know whether because the journalist doesn't do investigative journalism or they just cover them, or I don't know what to say. But some of these things, by that fact, if they make the declaration, do people go back to follow up on what was declared, that is this the real asset of these people or not? You heard what Kazauri was saying on television, and people were just making fun of him. Did people go after Kazauri and confirm all those things that he made? Are they true or not? Or just that we just say people declare assets, everybody want to be a holy man. In Nigeria, even an Akwa state governor, he want to present himself as a poor man, so that people will pity when you come. These people are like this. But there is no way you can be a governor of Delta, Akwa Ibom, Lagos, and you tell me you're poor. But they never say they're rich.
All right, thank you.
To me, asset declaration is just a formality.
All right, thank
Okay,
you.
thank you,
Thank you, Andrew.
Andrew.
I think very valid points
Yeah.
made there by Andrew. But when you even talk about, investigative journalism, people should go, move an inch further, to try to ascertain whether these assets being declared by public officers are true or not. But I think also it depends largely on the Code of Conduct Bureau, because they are the ones involved in this particular, asset declaration thing. So if I, as a public officer, comes and declares my assets, and I'm saying that I have one spoon and two buckets and just a basket and all of that, I think that as a Code of Conduct Bureau, it behoves on you and the organization now to go further to try to ascertain how true or this particular declaration I have made. So it doesn't just go beyond, it doesn't just end at being like a formality, just like Andrew has said. Let's see authenticity being attached to it, so that I think it also puts the public officers in check, and knowing fully well that, look, if you lie, we are going to go further to investigate the authenticity of what you have said, and we are going to come up with facts and figures to show that no, you did not actually declare all your properties. And even after, for me, I even feel that yes, after your term is when the real job is supposed to be done, so that we know we try to match it with how much you have been able to earn for the for the time that you covered your tenure as a public officer, right? And then if it goes beyond, if what you have accumulated over those years really goes beyond what you're supposed to,
and cannot be accounted for.
Okay, we begin to know, okay, so this is public funds being misused and being misappropriated here. So that's where this public officer was corrupt or engaged in corrupt practices and all of that. So I think it should just go beyond, because somebody like Andrew comes up now to say it is mere formalities. You don't know how many more Nigerians are of that same opinion, that the Code of Conduct Bureau and the asset declaration is mere formalities. Let's go beyond just having a country where Nigerians feel that, oh, government policies, when brought up, are just mere formalities and do not hold water at all.
The other question as a twist to that will be, when we make these investigations and find out that what you declared versus what you really have do not tally, are they punitive measures? Are they ways to implement a punishment on you not doing that? Some of those people go ahead to just become what they were, because Andrew mentioned the name of a particular person who was declaring assets. I just talked about it. No one went back to check. Even if you check, and just to also defend journalists, it's not necessarily the work of a journalist to ascertain whether those things are true or not. There are institutions that are saddled with that responsibility, and they are the ones asking for it. There's going to be a time where a journalist can come into the mix if it is, a question now raised in public domain as to whether or not these things are legitimate or not. But even when the journalist goes and makes findings and brings out, the journalist is not going to bring up punitive measures or implement punitive measures. There are institutions set up for this, but in our country, so far so good. What have you ever seen someone being punished for? Just like he said, you just know, okay, one way or the other,